All right, welcome to another episode of the Ridiculously Lame Wrestling Show. I am Robert Lentini. We're going to be going over the December 23rd episode of Raw. It was taped last week in Boston, Massachusetts at the TD Garden. I can't stand the tape shows. I'm sick of them. I can't wait till Netflix because that's not going to happen anymore. Whenever the show airs, if they're in another country, the time zone doesn't matter. They're going to air it live when it happens. I understand the tape shows for the holiday season, but damn, there's a huge difference. You can tell the piped-in crowd noise, everything. The commercial breaks are lame, weirdly placed throughout the show. But other than that complaint, I enjoyed this episode of Raw, even though we got a rematch from Saturday night's main event. It delivered, and we'll start there. We'll start with the opening promo. Drew McIntyre kicked off the show, revealed a very close family member of his died. While he was on hiatus, he went away for a few weeks after he lost to CM Punk at Bad Blood in the Hell in a Cell match. He said, McIntyre stated that nobody in the locker room really cared enough to ask, how he was doing while he was away. Nobody phoned him to check up on him, to ask maybe if he was hurt, from the Hell in a Cell match. Nobody cared. Besides one person, McIntyre noted that he's been led to believe that it's a big family backstage, but that's all BS. Brother wouldn't stab him in the back, but people like the Usos and Sami Zayn would. The crowd chanted yeet, and he said, well, now you're proving my point. Jey Uso was a monster in the Bloodline for ages. He comes up with a little catchphrase here, and everybody forgets about it. Everybody forgives him. And he said that CM Punk and Roman Reigns are the true villains in WWE. He said the fans instantly forgot about him during his hiatus, which is totally untrue. I was wondering where the hell he was for a while, waiting for him to come back. I'm glad he sold the injuries from the Hell in the Cell, but obviously he's dealing with something much more important in real life. McIntyre added that everyone who has ever wronged him should keep one eye open because he's coming after them. He's just on this mission. He's saying, I'm going to take from everybody. I've been giving to the fans. You guys forgot about me. Been giving to wrestling, missing funerals, missing time with my family. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm taking titles, and I'm taking my respect and all that stuff. Sami Zayn interrupted and said that everyone thought McIntyre was just recovering from the most vicious Hell in a Cell match they've ever seen, and that's why he was out. He was away. Nobody thought that anything serious was going on. Nobody thought that he lost someone in his family. Nobody thought that. They thought that McIntyre was just at home injured from the Hell in a Cell match. Sami Zayn then cut a great promo here. He said, everyone has experienced losses in their life. I have. Everybody in this crowd has. They're struggling at school or at work, but they find a way to get through the day, get up every morning, and do it without pointing the finger at everyone else. And that's what McIntyre's been doing. He's blaming the crowd. He's blaming Roman Reigns still, and the Bloodline still. Sami Zayn noted it's been 2 years since you've had an issue with the Bloodline. Now you're just bringing them up again. Zayn said, he's missed time with his family. He's made sacrifices, but this is the life they chose to have as WWE superstars, and they're lucky to have it. Sami suggested they had to have another match tonight, and McIntyre said, I don't know why you keep challenging me. You've never beat me. McIntyre defeated Sami Zayn in a singles match at Saturday night's main event last weekend. It was a good match, but Sami Zayn, really never had a shot, and they've made a point to say that he's less than 100% tonight. McIntyre said, I saw your wife and kid are in the back. Why don't you just get out of the ring and go home? And spend some time with them, enjoy the holidays, because you out of the Bloodline, the OG Bloodline, you're the least of my worries. And that pissed Sami Zayn off. He started brawling with McIntyre. First he said, I would love to go backstage with my wife and kid, but there's something I'd much rather do right now. And he just punched McIntyre in the face. But it wound up McIntyre getting the advantage. Jey Uso rushed the ring. Sami Zayn and Jey Uso then clotheslined McIntyre to the outside to end the segment. Later on Raw, they had a conversation backstage. Jey Uso said he wanted to face McIntyre because he attacked him 3 weeks ago and he wants to get revenge. Sami Zayn said, look, I started this. I started this with McIntyre. I interrupted him. I want to have the match. And Jey Uso said, all right, fine, but I got next. Pure Fusion Collective talked to Adam Pearce backstage. Sonya Deville wanted to replace Kairi Sane in the Women's Intercontinental Championship tournament. Kairi Sane was attacked, presumably by Pure Fusion Collective last week. We saw them there, but we didn't see the actual attack who did it. But Adam Pearce pretty much confirmed that it was Pure Fusion Collective in the segment, saying, like, you guys want me to replace Kairi Sane with Sonya Deville after you guys attacked her? Hell no. I've already found a replacement. It's Io Sky. So Io Sky versus Alba Fire versus Natalya in a triple threat match in the women's IC title tournament. I can't remember the last time I've seen Natalya. Maybe against like Kiana James. Remember her when she had that debut, defeated Natalya and then promptly got injured and hasn't been spoken of since. That's the last time I remember Natalya on WWE TV. I'm sure there was another time before that, but I haven't seen her in a while. Feels like this is an okay match. Io Sky wound up getting the win. Natalya hit a cool spot during this match, though. She had a double sharpshooter, Alba Fire and Io Sky in the middle of the ring, but they got to the ropes, and Io Sky hit the best moonsault ever, or whatever her moonsault is called, for the pinfall victory to advance. I'm not sure if I really all that interested in Io Sky winning this tournament after she just had a Women's World Championship reign and just challenged for the Women's World Championship against Liv Morgan at Saturday night's main event. Not sure about her replacing Kairi Sane either in this tournament, but this was an okay match. The Judgment Day, there's still turmoil there. They were arguing backstage. Liv Morgan and Finn Balor would not speak to each other. So Liv Morgan would be like, hey, Raquel, can you tell Finn Balor that the reason we're all upset is because you lost the World Tag Team titles last week? And Balor's like, hey, JD McDonough, can you tell Liv Morgan this? And went back and forth. And finally, Dominik Mysterio interrupted and said he has a plan. He's going to solve this. He's going to go talk to Adam Pearce and face Damian Priest tonight. And Finn Balor's like, what do you think? You're better than me? So he's just instantly defensive. And Dominik's like, no. Not at all. I just have a plan. I'm going to go talk to Pearce, and I'm going to face Damian Priest tonight. Chad Gable versus Akira Tozawa. I don't know what... This match was fine. You know, I love Akira Tozawa's senton. He gets incredible airtime. But obviously, he did not win this match. Chad Gable won via the ankle lock. He kept it on after the match, and Otis confronted him. They shoved back and forth. American Made got in the ring. Chad Gable will be facing Otis next week. This match should have happened 6 months ago. We're 6 months too late here. Nobody gave a shit about Chad Gable versus Akira Tozawa. Nobody cares about American Made now. Now they got these like American flag. They look stupid. Brutus Creed has like a bandana on. It's like they're a comedy act. That's not what I was expecting when Chad Gable became the leader of American Made with the Creed brothers. They're supposed to be this great tag team that we've been waiting a while to get on the main roster. They barely wrestle tag team matches, and they're lackeys for Chad Gable in a faction that nobody gives a shit about. So I don't understand what we're doing here. I don't understand why we're 6 months late with this Otis and Chad Gable match. Chad Gable better win, or are we building Otis? Like, this feud sucks. It's way too late. They had a huge moment to do this match, and they veered in a totally different direction and had Chad Gable with the Wyatt Six, and that shitty feud that ultimately didn't go anywhere other than Chad Gable losing to Uncle Howdy, and the payoff for Uncle Howdy was he was pinned by Karrion Kross. Like, there's a lot of shitty mid-card feuds on Raw, if I'm being honest. And Chad Gable versus Otis will be a fun match next week. But if you could hop in a time machine and go back 6 months when this rivalry was hot, it's frustrating that they didn't do that match then. Dominik Mysterio spoke to the New Day backstage. Even Dominik Mysterio didn't agree with the New Day's actions against Big E, betraying him on the December 2nd episode of Raw, refusing to allow him to be their manager. Mysterio said, look, I didn't even like Big E, but what you guys did, that was just crazy, and walked away. And Xavier Woods said he looked like a broke-ass Tom Selleck. You throw up a picture of Tom Selleck here, he has a point. He does kind of look like a broke-ass Tom Selleck if Selleck had a ridiculous mullet. Dominik Mysterio then battled Damian Priest, and his grand plan, his master plan here was to have the Judgment Day hidden throughout the area, the ringside area. JD McDonough was in a Santa Claus costume in the front row. Damian Priest saw him and beat the shit out of him. Carlito was under the ring eating an apple. Then Damian Priest opened the ring apron and saw Carlito, and he spit out the apple. He was just so surprised. And then eventually this just ended in a DQ because the Judgment Day beat the shit out of Damian Priest. The numbers game. The War Raiders show up, the new World Tag Team Champions. They help Damian Priest battle back and pose in the ring. And then later on the show, the War Raiders said, have a backstage conversation with Priest and say, look, we haven't always seen eye to eye, but we've known each other for decades now. There's mutual respect. And Damian Priest said, look, you guys are at war with the Judgment Day. I'll be happy to go to war with you. So that's an interesting little alliance here. I don't know if it's a faction, Damian Priest and the War Raiders. I don't know if I even like that at all, to be honest with you. But Damian Priest should not be in the world title picture right now. He had his reign, so they're finding something else for him to do. I just kind of wish they would get him away from the Judgment Day. But, you know, Rhea Ripley's still battling Liv Morgan in the Judgment Day. They haven't gotten away from it yet. But just have a singles match between Damian Priest and Finn Balor and get it over with. Have another one of those. But I am intrigued about this, like the infighting between the Judgment Day and Finn Balor and Dominik Mysterio. They keep taking shots at each other. So I want to see where that goes. But I'm ready for Damian Priest to move on to something else besides the Judgment Day. Maybe he goes to SmackDown or something after this rivalry. That's what I would do. It's just I don't know if I'm all that interested in Damian Priest and the War Raiders against the Judgment Day, to be honest. Seth Rollins was interviewed by Jackie Redmond. They did a sit-down interview with Redmond and CM Punk a couple weeks ago. Now there's one with Rollins. She asked, you know, what's the root of this issue with CM Punk? His disdain for CM Punk. Rollins said he's been trying to explain it many times, but it's almost like he's been talking into the wind. He said, Punk needed this place. It didn't need him, which was an interesting comment. Rollins said it will be a fight on January 6th, the Raw debut on Netflix, rather than a wrestling match. It's going to be a fight. Rollins said after seeing him hand-in-hand with Roman Reigns at Survivor Series in the War Games match, he wanted to throw the remote through the television. Rollins said, you know, he wants the world to see what he's going to do to CM Punk on Netflix. And he has no idea what it's going to look like. It's going to be very violent, but he has to extract this demon from his soul, is his word. So deep hatred for CM Punk there. The Miz versus Dexter Lumis. I think this one ended in a DQ. I'm not going to spend any time talking about this. I've said, the Final Testament get involved. They interfere. It's thrown out. The Wyatt Six. The lights go out. They show up. Nikki Cross is powerbombed on top of the Final Testament. That's how that segment ends. But I've been talking about the Wyatt Six and the Final Testament feud for a while, saying I've enjoyed it. I think this was the night that it jumped the shark. This is the night that it was like, all right, let's move on here, because the crowd reaction was just painfully silent. This is a tape show. They didn't pipe in any noise for this. I don't know why they didn't. It sounded terrible. Just nobody cared, and I think we're all ready to move on. I've enjoyed this rivalry. I like Karrion Kross a lot as the leader of the Final Testament, but hopefully they have something else interesting in store if they're going to continue this against the Wyatt Six, because Dexter Lumis versus The Miz, that wasn't a good watch. The New Day came down to the ring to a chorus of boos as usual. That's their new reality. They're getting the Dominik Mysterio treatment ever since betraying Big E. They yelled at Joe Tessitore for having an opinion as an analyst. They said, Wade Barrett, you're just like Big E. You're too much of a weakling, or to get back in the ring. And Wade Barrett's like, I'm retired. I've been retired for a while. What are you talking about? They get in the ring. They're getting booed left and right. They said that they've given you 10 of the best years of your life, and this is what they get. And then Kofi Kingston says, my mother, she's from Ghana. She flew all the way here tonight. She's sitting in the front row, and the crowd stops booing. They're respectful to Kofi Kingston's mother. He goes over to his mother and asks for a hug, and she's like, no. And she gets up and walks away, and the crowd pops. It was a huge Kofi Kingston's mom chant. She stole the show just by showing up her son, refusing to hug him, and just disrespecting him and showing him like she's ashamed of him, as she should be. It was a terrible act the New Day did to Big E, but this was probably my favorite moment of the show. Just so unexpected. Kofi Kingston's mom just flying in from Ghana to disrespect her son is just fantastic. And then we get Rey Mysterio having a conversation with the New Day backstage. A couple weeks ago, Rey Mysterio, said what you did to Big E was ridiculous. and kicked him out of the locker room, basically Mizzed him. The Miz got kicked out of the WWE locker room back in the day at a change in public restrooms pretty much in the stadiums. Well, the New Day have been kicked out of the locker room by Rey Mysterio, so they have a conversation, and Rey Mysterio's like, look, I'm the locker room leader. I should have given you guys an explanation, talk to you, try to sort this out. What you did to Big E was out of pocket. It was foul. Those were his words. It was, and, you know, if you apologize, it's a start. And the New Day said, look, we did nothing wrong. And Xavier Woods said, maybe I'll take that mask off again and so you can hear better. We didn't do anything wrong. And so Rey Mysterio is like, all right, fair enough. Don't say I didn't try. And you'll be hearing this a lot now, and started up a New Day sucks chant, which is great. Now we get to the main event, Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. This is a great back and forth match. Started with about 20 minutes left in the show, so they gave it enough time. Zayn was selling like a knee injury. His back was hurting throughout the match. Couldn't really put everything together. McIntyre hit a white noise off the second rope, and Wade Barrett's like, Sheamus is throwing his remote at the TV right now. I like that moment. Sami countered a Claymore, hit an exploder suplex. He went for the haluva kick. He had the match pretty much won, but he couldn't run. He was grabbing his back, his knee, selling all these injuries, and McIntyre leveled him with the Claymore for the pinfall victory. He goes for an attack after the match. Jey Uso shows up. He hits McIntyre with the spear. He's going to the top rope, going for a frog splash, but Tama Tonga shows up out of nowhere. Then Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa get in the ring. The Bloodline beats Sami Zayn down, Jey Uso down, Samoan spikes left and right. Drew McIntyre has a stare down with Solo Sikoa and the Bloodline, backs away. They've kind of have this agreement that he'll allow Solo Sikoa to take care of Roman Reigns on his own during the Tribal Combat match, and then after that they'll settle their issues. That's what happened on SmackDown. But McIntyre's been attacking Jey Uso a few weeks ago, Jimmy Uso on SmackDown, and not Sami Zayn. He's targeting the OG Bloodline, and he has no issue with Solo Sikoa right now because they're in conflict with Roman Reigns and his stablemate. So that was the close of the show. Jacob Fatu with a moonsault on Sami Zayn, Samoan spikes all around. Solo Sikoa's faction posed above Jey Uso and Sami Zayn as Drew McIntyre laughed on the entrance ramp, and that's how Raw went off the air. Decent show. I hate the tape shows, but I enjoyed Drew McIntyre versus Sami Zayn. I'm glad they gave it time. Hated Dexter Lumis versus The Miz. Hated Chad Gable versus Tozawa. Hate that they're doing Chad Gable versus Otis next week on Raw. Just way too late. But overall, there's some good moments on tonight's Raw. I'm enjoying the Women's Intercontinental Championship Tournament. I have no idea who's going to win that. There's only 4 people left. I'm rooting for Lyra Valkyria, but Zoe Stark would be interesting to me too. Dakota Kai's never won a title. So we'll see. But that is it for this week's Raw review. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not subscribed, please do so. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday night for the Dynamite review.